So our inner soul suckers and our inner critics and our protectors can kind of go into situations focused on what we don't want. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to sound stupid, whatever it is. And people experience a profound shift from simply asking, what do I want for the hearts and souls in the room?
Welcome, beautiful souls, to Say Yes to Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Tessa Lynn Auburn, and I'm so grateful that you're here with me today. This is the space where we empower women like you to connect deeply with your soul, to shine in your business, and live a life filled with purpose and joy. Whether you're seeking to embrace your inner brilliance, cultivate meaningful connections, or be generously compensated for the unique gifts you bring to the world, you've come to the right place. As we navigate the busyness of the new year, we'll explore how to honor the dark, restful days of winter and use them as an opportunity for soulful reflection and renewal. So get cozy, get present, and let's journey together into the season of transformation. Hello there. I am super excited to present to you another luminous guest. Her name is Lauri Smith, and Lauri is a speaker and an intuitive public speaking and leadership coach. She's really good at that. She's the creator of the Vocal Presence Path approach to soulful speaking and the author of Your Voice Matters, a guide to speaking soulfully when it counts. And don't we all need that? She helps sensitive visionaries, ambitious empaths, and loving rebels to speak, be seen, and fulfill their soul's calling. And her mission is to call forth more open-hearted leaders so they can do their part to change the world with authenticity, creativity, and courage. I just love that. Yes, it takes a lot of heart. So Lauri, I want to really welcome you with a big, wide open heart here. Welcome to Say Yes to Your Soul.
Thank you so much, Tessa, and I am hugging you back energetically.
Yay, I felt it. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So it's been nice getting to know you. And we were talking a little bit before we started this today, but I also know you through a women's community and a workshop that you held, which was amazing. I really loved it. And I think to start us off, I will go ahead and ask the question around how you got to where you are now, working with sensitive visionaries and working with loving rebels, right? And helping them to bring their voices forward in the world. How did you get started? What led you there?
Well, it's been a lifelong journey. And as I'm about to tell this, I hope that people understand that no matter how I tell this, it's probably going to seem like it was an easier, more pulled together path than it actually was. It was magical, and there were struggles and detours along the way. It all started when I was about 7 years old. I had been playing with some friends. We were playing make-believe, acting out the Brady Bunch, like making up our own episode. And kids being kids, they left to go to the pool. And I said, okay, I'm going to stay here and finish the story. I'll meet you at the pool at so-and-so's house later.
Oh.
And my mom found me in the backyard talking to myself because I was finishing the story. I was acting out all of the characters. And she immediately took me to an acting class. So I'm very lucky that I had a mother who was like, I think let's give her an outlet for this as opposed to stop that. What are you doing?
And yes, I just have to say 3 cheers for mom.
Yeah, 3 cheers for mom. Very intuitive choice on her part. I was not a very good actor in the beginning, so I'll kind of fast forward to, I started getting good in college, and I'm going to fast forward to about 20 years. When I was about 27 years old, I had a degree in theater. I was working as an executive assistant in corporate America. And I had, both in corporate America and through a lot of those school years, felt like an outsider. I'm highly sensitive, which I now know is a gift, a superpower. I'm highly intuitive. And for all of those years, I was kind of faking it. I was putting on a mask of trying to pretend like I was like everyone else.
So would you say you were like pretending to be okay, or what was the mask about? Describe the mask and what it was covering up.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of pretending to be okay, pretending not to be sensitive,
Ah,
pretending to be smart in the way that everyone else was. So much so that I think I even thought I was that more left-brained intelligence, because what I actually was emotionally intelligent and so intuitive that I now believe I got straight A's because I could hear in the voices of my teachers what was on the test.
ooh, that is a superpower for sure.
Yes, but I did not value or even understand all of the gifts that I had because I was in so many rooms where I wouldn't speak up until, the desire inside got really strong, or it was on behalf of saving someone else or advocating for someone else. I spent a lot of time thinking if what I was seeing, sensing, intuiting, knowing were valuable, someone else would have already spoken up to say it.
Ah, so it was like your entire, in a way, your existence really wasn't being validated. You didn't have any of those reflections around you, anybody mirroring back that the experience you were having inside was valid.
Yeah.
Then it mattered at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And in my 20s, I was working as an executive assistant. I was doing theater at night, working way too much overall. There was this voice inside of me that was calling me to go toward a more aligned life. And as a theater person, there were a lot of excuses for not listening to that voice, many of them coming from the starving artist thing, like, but if I go toward that life, then I'm going to starve.
So when you say you were being guided toward an aligned life, so the aligned life for you meant in the performance, in the field of performance, and out of the executive, secretarial, corporate, all that.
I thought when I finally said yes, I thought, because your logical mind comes in and tries to go like, what is happening here? How is all this going to play out from A to Z? I thought that I was going to go get a master's degree in theater, and I was going to teach theater during the day and act in plays at night, and I would be in theater and only theater forever.
Okay.
And the universe had a slightly different yes and kind of path in store for me. I did have a very powerful experience in my favorite acting class ever at the Sideways Studio with Richard Side in San Francisco, where right around this time that there's this voice inside of me saying, you need to quit your job and go back to school. And I'm going, no, no, no. There was an exercise in an acting class where everyone was focused on me. And I kept doing that thing of putting on the smart mask and trying to have it all pulled together. And he paused the exercise and said, whatever that thing is that you're doing in between these little sections, stop doing it. And I said, I'm not that comfortable having everyone's eyes on me. And he took off his glasses and he said, well, then you've picked a strange set of careers for yourself. You're an actor, a teacher, a speaker, a leader. part of you wants this. Part of you knows you're meant to be here. So he hit that calling, and I deeply trusted him, and it was a safe, sacred space to take risks. So I jumped back into the exercise, and I was actively releasing things like jaw tension and tension in my pec muscles to protect my heart. And I felt like I was walking through fire and ice at the same time. And on the other side of it, it was like decades of protection melted away. And when the acting was over, I could see and feel what kind of an emotional state every single person in the room was in without words. And in light of you saying it's like no one was validating your inner experience, he and that space had actually been validating it all along. And this, in some ways, was like a big exclamation point at the end of the sentence of, hello, your intuition and your sensitivity, the fact that you are an empath, those are your superpowers. And we had a moment of oneness that lasted beyond the acting. I'd had them before, like feeling a flow state, feeling like I was in oneness when I was in character. This was the first one that lasted beyond that. And he spoke again in that moment. And he had said it before, and he said it again. You got your left brain from your dad. You got your intuition more from your mom. I actually think, looking back, my dad was like this secret, sensitive, intuitive empath as well.
And he was hiding it too. Yeah.
And those are a very powerful combination. And he also pointed out, you are leading with your mind when your mind is fine. Your real gifts are in your heart. They're in your sensitivity. They're in your intuition. Even as an actor, I could do things that some actors couldn't do with the same level of ease, just as they would have had gifts that they could do with more ease that I had to work at. And then I decided to go to graduate school. I had more awakening and understanding my superpowers in that world. And then I was teaching theater at a community college, and a woman about my age came up to me and said, "You're different. The other teachers have more of that professor style. You are a coach. You have a coaching style, but you've never seen anything like it. So you're not trusting it. You're trying to be like they are." When you trust your intuition and you sense what's going on and ask questions, and you use this coaching style, you look like you're reading people's minds, and you are drawing hands down the best performances out of my classmates. You wouldn't know that because you're not in the other classes.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't even know what a coach was, by the way. Intuitively, I knew she wasn't talking about basketball or soccer. And her face looked like it was in a fun mirror, and time was slowing down behind her.
So So you were having like a paradigm shift moment.
Yeah.
Where, this is a whole other dimension I hadn't even considered.
Yes. Yeah.
It sounds, and this isn't, I don't mean to label it, but it does sound a little like sometimes when people are highly talented and they're on the spectrum, like they can perceive things, that other people don't perceive, like animals, making whatever their normal sound is, and they actually see music floating around in the ethers. Was it like kind of like that for you, or like, because you're so sensitive?
Yeah.
I'd love to know what, like, if you could describe
what
that's like.
The biggest thing that I'm aware of that I have not had anyone else tell me they experience in exactly the same way is that when people speak, it's it sounds to me like there are the oral equivalent of a neon sign around certain words. So if they're speaking and something is important to them, it's like there's a neon sign. And I remember when I was in coaching school on a call, and I was the coach, our leader was the coachee, and everyone else was listening back when we did these things on telephones and not Zoom. And when we were debriefing afterwards, she asked, Lauri, how did you know to go to the car? In this, she's like, blah, 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 blah. And somewhere in there is something about a car. And I asked a question about the car. And she said, how did you know to go there? And I laughed. And I said, you're kidding, right? And she said, I'm not kidding. Please answer the question. And I described, it's like there was a neon sign around that for you. I hear it differently. I feel it differently. And she asked everyone else, did you hear that in the way that Lauri did? No, 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 no. Oh. Again, a validation, another moment of me going, oh, so other people aren't saying it because it's not valuable. They're not saying it because they're not hearing it or seeing it or sensing it in the same way that I do.
Yes.
That's the one that feels like it's the most unique to me, that no one else has ever said they're hearing it in quite the same way. Once I started to trust my own sensitivity, I see flashes that are like postcards in my mind, and I don't consider myself a very visual person. So when I see postcards, I now believe that they're usually coming from the person that I'm coaching, that they're more visual.
Like they're having a visual and they're sending a message to you, and you're sensitive enough to pick up on it.
Oh. In part because it happened the first time I risked and said, I just saw this crazy image in my mind, and threw it out there with a client back when I was in certification. He said, oh my gosh, that's it. That's what I'm seeing. And I went, okay, from now on, I just got to blurt whatever crazy thing I'm seeing. I feel things in my body. And now that I know what an empath is, empaths feel energy. I feel energy in a room. It's part of what makes me a great actor. Trying to describe how I hold for laughs is like, well, it's part hearing the laugh and it's part just feeling that there's a wave. And like knowing when the wave starts to die down, you go on with the next thing. And we feel things in our bodies that others feel in their bodies. I hear words in my ear, in my inner ear, just like seeing things in my inner eye. There are times where it's like there's a voice repeating something. And if it repeats it, it means I have to blurt it to the client. I have to interrupt and say, there's a voice in my head saying, blah, 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 blah. What does that spark for you?
Yes. Okay. So
yeah,
this is very fun. And I love that you're giving like really great examples from your own life and your own experience of what it could be like for people who are empathic. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that everybody who's empathic has all of those things, but they may have one, or it could be different. Like the way that I perceive information is different than the way you perceive it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm more kinesthetic. I feel clairsentient, and feel it in my body. And that it's a little more like I have to know what to ask from there. But I am curious. So when you were growing up and you're feeling like, all this stuff must have been happening to a certain degree. Now it's more prevalent because you're open to it and you've accepted it. But what were some of those places in your life, or those times where you're like, I know this is like awkward, I don't fit in, or I'm somebody is not going to like that I know something about them? Was there ever anything like that going on for you?
Yeah, I feel like I suppressed it so much that I have a hard time coming up with the memories of suppressing it. I I would know if someone was lying to me, like friends, telling me, "Oh, no, we didn't, you're like 7 years old and you have two friends saying, "Oh no, we didn't get together and go do that thing without you."
Mm. We did talk about you behind your back.
We didn't talk about you behind
Yeah.
your back. I I had a dream once as a child and once when I kind of reawakened to this in my 30s. The day before an earthquake, I had a dream where I was standing in the exact spot that I was then standing in the next day when the earthquake hit, that there was an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember like finding places to sort of let this out that were safer. Like when my grandmother passed away, I actually saw her, thought it was a dream. Don't really think it was a dream now. She lived in Chicago. We lived in Burbank, California. My bedroom always had the door open at that point, and I was sleeping and I could see down the hallway, and it was like a T-shaped, the hallway to my parents' room, and then from the living room into the bathroom. And I open my eyes and I see my grandmother walk from the living room into the hallway, wave at me, go into the bathroom. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to wait until she's done in the bathroom and then I'm going to say hello. I didn't know she was visiting from Chicago and she never came out of the bathroom. And when I got up the next morning, the energy feels weighty, wet. What's going on? Eventually my mother says, your grandmother passed away last night. And I'm like, no, she was just here.
I just saw her.
No, she was in the house. She came for a visit. And, my parents were being parents, like kind of trying to keep it together. And I said, it's okay to be sad, Mom. I miss her too. Because I just felt it and I knew. And my mother was a safer place than some people's mothers are. So it was, it was not a big risk to say, to let her know that I felt what she was feeling. And if I'm remembering it right, she did kind of like burst into some soft tears when I said that. Like it was like giving her permission. You don't need to hold it together for your child.
Yes.
At one point earlier in life, I had also gone to my mother. I do not remember this, but my mother and my aunt told me that I would do things at like 5, up until 5. Like I looked at her and said, I've been your mommy before and I'll be your mommy again. At like 4.
Oh my gosh.
And I think rather than people telling me a lot, you're weird, don't do that. I feel like I had some teachers who had a little of like, you're weird, you can't do that, sit, get in line. It was more that I was so good at reading people that I mimicked the kind of suppress, clench your jaw, close down around your heart because everyone else was doing it. And it was like, well, I'm so good at reading you. I'll just do what everyone else is doing because that must be right to deal with the massive amount of stuff that I was probably sensing, particularly emotionally. And then that shut down the ability to feel what people were feeling physically. It becomes just tension. Like I think I was walking around feeling the tension.
Yes, it's protection, but it becomes tension and stress. And then, one just doesn't feel like themselves.
Yeah.
But thank goodness you had this wonderful instructor, this theater teacher who saw that in you and was able to create that safe space. That's not terribly common, or at least it wasn't in my experience.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd love to go down different avenues here, but I want to make sure that we also kind of paint the picture for people now, for our listeners, like how you think about your soul and then how that supports the work that you do in helping others. Because I can hear in my mind right now, some of the listeners going, well, I don't have any special gifts. Does that mean I don't have a voice? Do I matter? Right? Do I need to go learn how to be sensitive? What do I need to do? Yeah, I think we need to normalize a little bit here for them.
Yeah. I think of the soul as my highest self. It's a part of all souls. It's the witness if you're meditating, and it's the part of you that sees your personality and your fears. And it knows what I'm here to do. And we all have one, and it speaks to us differently. Gut urges, heart callings, knowing. It's there speaking to us all the time. And then for some of us, that kind of gets formed into a thought of, oh, maybe I should go to graduate school. Oh, I want to give a TED Talk, which then gets communicated to the world through the body. And we were all born instruments, our bodies, that played brilliantly and beautifully, and they resonated with a different quality, a one-of-a-kind resonance. And then the world told all of us, don't be too big, don't be too much, don't take up too much space, don't be too emotional.
And be like everybody else.
So we're all walking around trying to guess at what the rest of the world wants or needs us to be in order to fit in. So whether we're sensitive in the ways that I am or you are, or ways you and I have not named in our conversation yet, we are all more alike than we are different. We are all capable of having presence and being charismatic. And it's about removing all that messaging that got stored in the body in order to resonate the way we did when we came in as babies. We would cry, and people on the other side of the house would have their hair stand up on end. And when I work with people, it's about getting the instrument, the vessel, the body, to play like that again and marry that to an intention or a sense of purpose as an adult.
So when you're working with people, do people always know what that purpose is, or does that unfold? There's a inner calling for them. They're sort of there's something more. I know there's something more, but I don't know maybe what it is.
Yeah.
Is that how some people come?
Yeah. Some people are very clear, and others are really feeling the call, much like when I had this voice saying you need to go to graduate school. And I was kind of like, what? It can be at the beginning stages, and they discover it. It's like a radio station for those of us that are old enough to remember, where you would hear a lot of static and then you would get the radio station in tune.
Thanks for bringing the age thing in. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. But it's one of the best metaphors for it.
It is. That tuning device. Yes.
Yeah. That's happening in their voice. And when they don't already know what their calling is, it's happening with their voice as they're practicing speaking. And yet it's also kind of happening in the clarity of their life and remembering, what am I here to do? It has a ripple effect. I don't specifically work with that. If they want more of that, I would refer them out to someone else. And we're humans, and things like that ripple. People can work with a business coach and have it ripple into their speaking. People can work with a speaking coach and have it ripple across all areas of their life.
Absolutely. Okay, I know we could keep going, and sadly, time is continuing to tick in this current illusion we call our lives. I really enjoyed this. I would like for you to share how people could be in touch with you, how they could connect with you. And I know you've got a free gift, so please go ahead and share that information.
Yeah, I'm old school. Website is the easiest one for my mind to remember, which is voice-matters.com. I am on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, and those links are there if you scroll to the bottom of the page. I just can't remember all of them. And I have a quiz. It's called the Speaker Alter Ego Quiz. That's also right there on the website. The quiz will reveal which mask, which speaker alter ego protective mask is your top mask. So, which is the one that you are grabbing that may not even be how you're showing up in your life, but it might be sneaking into your speaking. Like my smart mask is one of them called the heady hipster. So at one point in my life, that probably would have been my go-to mask. I then replaced it with a different mask, the deranged mannequin. So if you get that one, know that I am that one too. It is not you. It's the mask that you're grabbing that if you learn to release it, allows for your full, soulful speaking presence to shine through.
Beautiful. Okay, so people can get in touch with you. And I think the core here, really, of everything that you do, it is what your website is. It's Voice Matters. And so if there's anything specific around that, like you want to pop a home run here in your message to our listeners today around their voice, what would that be?
I want the listeners to know your voice matters. It is needed in the world. I see the world like a big human orchestra. And part of what we have going on as we try to make the world a better place and raise consciousness is that it's as if the string section isn't playing because some of them are thinking, who am I to play? No one wants to hear what I have to say. So the drums are beating louder, trying to make up for the silent string section, when what we really need to create harmony is for each of you to know that your voice does matter. It is part of what will help make the world a better place. So please play your instrument full out. And that's how you can help us reach global harmony.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that and calling people forth here today. And before we go, I'd love to know if you have one tip or piece of guidance to the listeners that could help them begin, besides taking your quiz or whatever, but like something they could do at home, or maybe today, maybe now in this moment, something they could do to take a step forward toward bringing their voice forward.
Yeah. A simple yet powerful one, wherever you're using your voices, is to set an intention for what you want for the people in the room. So our inner soul suckers and our inner critics and our protectors can kind of go into situations focused on what we don't want. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to sound stupid, whatever it is. And people experience a profound shift from simply asking, what do I want for the hearts and souls in the room?
Oh, I love that. I'm going to repeat it. What do I want for the hearts and souls in the room? That's beautifully asked. And I think that's amazing guidance for all the listeners here today, including myself. So thank you, Lauri. And I'm really glad you were here today. I I think my own heart has been touched in a certain way around the journey of the sensitive, right? And the woman who really didn't know herself and didn't get the reflection that she needed, that journey can still happen, that awakening can still happen. It doesn't matter how many gray hairs you have. So if you've been resonating with this conversation today, please feel free to connect with Lauri, or of course of myself, and avail yourself of the resources that are here for you. Lauri, thank you so much for being here and for having your clear instrument and helping those drummers take a break in the back. Thank you. And I wish everyone a blessed and vocal day. Bye-bye for now. Thank you for joining me on this soul-nourishing journey today. I hope you're feeling inspired to embrace the stillness of the winter season, connect with your inner wisdom, and allow space for your soul to rest and regenerate. Remember, the darkness of winter is not something to fear or to rush through. It's a powerful time for growth, for healing, and for accessing divine guidance. Before you go, I'd love to invite you to take a moment to reflect on today's episode and perhaps explore the meditation I've created just for you. It's designed to help you connect with the angelic realms and invite love and guidance into your life. You can find it at sayyestoyoursoulpodcast.com/multiverse meditation. And I'll also link it in the show notes for you. If this episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review and share it with someone you think might benefit from this message. You deserve to say yes to your soul, and I'm here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, take a deep breath, honor the quiet, and trust that the universe is working in your favor. Stay present, stay connected, and most of all, stay true to you.